Hey, what's up guys? We'll see 69 here back at you and welcome to the channel. So today I figured I would just go over mounting the LS engine in old Project Joey back here behind me. Reason why, I've had some questions about, how I did it, what I used, what kind of mounts I used, and what were my measurements and stuff. So I figured, now since the engine's out, this is a perfect opportunity to go ahead and do that. So let me go ahead and show you guys what kind of mounts I used. I need a pointer. There you go. We'll just use the old tape measure. Use this. Okay, so I picked up these mounts right here. Now you can get these from either, you can get them anywhere actually. I've seen them at Summit, Jegs, Amazon, eBay. I've even seen them on Facebook Marketplace. But these are the mounts that I used. Honestly, guys, these right here work the best. I was going to try something a little different at first. I picked up these pretty sick plates here from ICT Billet. And they just kind of mount to the side of the engine just like that. But the problem with these is that either the mount would end up on this side or it'd end up on this side. And I really just needed something straight down. Something kind of like an original LS mount. Because how these work is they use like the old school Chevy clamshell here, and they just kind of mount in these holes. And there's a little bit of adjustability, and like I said, you can turn these around and they'll go backwards and stuff. But really, this sucked. Like, this was just not going to work. I put them on the engine. I lowered the engine in there. It was just too much. They weren't going to work at all. And it ended up costing more for those than what these ended up costing. I want to say maybe 50 bucks for these things I paid. I've seen them as low as 45. I've seen them as high as like 75 on like Facebook Marketplace. Someone painted them and just trying to sell them for more. Honestly though, get the ones that don't have paint on them. And the reason why I say that is you're going to have to do some like cutting and grinding to fix these up. Now, I got really lucky on this because right here you can see the pad. This is the original pad for the old V6 motor that I pulled out of here. And you got one on each side. So really all you got to do, when you get these mounts, you get the mount here and you get these two little dog legs right here. You just kind of like cut these to fit on the bottom. You cut your length off that you need and what angle you got. It was really easy, guys, how I did that. I just lowered the engine where I needed it. And I just kind of moved these dog legs over here with my finger and just kind of marked the back of it with a marker to get the angle that I needed. Now, it wasn't perfect the first time. I actually cut these, kind of tacked them in place, and then I ended up having to redo it. And I think we're going to have to do a little bit more work to it, now that we got the engine out. But all in all, these pads here are in a perfect position for this style mount. And like I said, 50 bucks. And you can have a set of these. And they work perfect. Now, one problem that you're going to run into with the engine, and this is really just for people that have four-wheel drive. You can see here, you got the front differential right here. It's rather unfortunate. Now, the stock pan does fit in here, the stock oil pan. However, this is going to hit it right here when your yoke. You can turn your yoke this way and the pan will clear, but once that yoke starts spinning, it's going to, well, I shouldn't say that it hits it. It doesn't hit the pan directly. It just hits the oil filter that's there. And you may think, oh, you can use like a spin-on adapter and stuff like that. And I tried that. It just was not going to work whatsoever. So you're going to have to make your own oil pan for this, just like what I did. And it really wasn't that hard. It was a little intimidating at first, but really it wasn't that bad. Just pick up one of those cheap stamp steel pans that everybody sells, and you can just kind of cut it to fit. You just kind of got to make a little angle, cut a little angle out of it like that, kind of like what I did. And I got a bunch of videos on that, on how I did that. Now the LS engine, it's really not that much longer than the V6 I took out of it. And the reason why is those V6 engines, they got like a timing chain up front. Here, I'll just go ahead and show you. They got a timing chain in the back, on one head, and they got a timing chain in the front on another head. And then, you know, they got a jack shaft chain right there in the center. And I want to say this is almost like 27 inches altogether, which is almost the length of the LS engine. And you know, these Ford Explorers here, they came out with a V8 in it. So there is plenty of room in here, guys, to drop a V8. Now, if you got a second gen, that's a whole nother story. I have one outside. It's a 99 Ford Explorer. And, you know, the engine bay is a little bit skinnier. It can be done, and a couple people have done it, but it's definitely going to be a little bit tighter. Now, the 4L80 transmission, I did not have any trouble getting this thing in there. It fits really good. Like, I didn't have to modify anything on the trans tunnel at all. As you can see here, I had plenty of room to put the cooler lines. Let's see if I can zoom in on that. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, plenty of room for those. Really, the only issue that I did have, and if that's if you keep it four-wheel drive, is the transfer case. You will have to take a hammer to the bottom of the driver's side floor to get the transfer case. And I guess it really depends on what transfer case you use. But if you're like me and wanted to use the manual transfer case, the MP241, you will have to modify that ever so slightly. It's not much. Maybe one of these days when I get under there, I'll kind of show you guys, or if somebody wants me to show them, you know, what I did to get that in there. So as you can see, guys, like the engine fits it fits great. It fits beautiful. Like I had really no trouble like setting the engine in there at all. However, it wasn't perfect. Like, and I'll be honest, that engine, like, it was fully dressed. Like, I had the intake on it, water pump, oil pan, you name it, the heads, all that. Everything was on that engine when I was setting it in there. So I really didn't have a good, way to kind of like square that engine up in there. I didn't really have a nice flat machine surface that I could use, to get it perfect, just straight center down the chassis, or perfectly square to the chassis. So with that said, and currently since this engine is out, I'm going to take the opportunity. We're going to set that engine back in there now that it's like, it's completely down, completely broke down. The only thing I get in there right now is the crankshaft. And so I got all this, nice flat machine surface for reference. And, when I first started doing this, I picked up a gauge. I picked up one of these guys. And let me tell you, this thing sucks. Do not try to do this with one of these stupid damn gauges. And the problem I was having with it is like the needle, like sometimes it would just stick to the face here. And, you put it on, it give you one reading, and then you do it again, it give you a different reading. This thing's a piece of junk. Don't ever try to use that. I ended up picking up this guy here. And I picked this up when I was actually doing my drive shaft angle. This thing works great. Got it at Harbor Freight. It's a little pricey at Harbor Freight, though. I want to say it was like $35, $38, kind of expensive for Harbor Freight, I did find one of these on Amazon. I will link it in the description below. I want to say it was only like $17. Probably does the exact same thing. I really like this one. If you do get one, make sure you get one that's, got, they'll all probably have a calibrate, but get one that's got a hold. That way you can like stick it somewhere. If you're not looking at it, you just kind of press that hold button and you can kind of turn around and see what you got. But anyway, so since I have this now, I can go ahead and redo my measurements, because I want to say I'm a little leaning. I think I'm leaning a little bit to the right, and I'm about maybe 1/8 of an inch over, or maybe 1/4 inch over, somewhere around there. And I want to say what happened there is I ended up, I think I tweaked the tail shaft of the transmission when I was redoing my transmission cross member. And when you do that on the back, when you move it just ever so slightly in the back, it'll move it up front on the face of the engine. So anything you do back there will affect this, and whatever you do back up here is going to affect that. It's like a game of cat and mouse, guys. And I want to say I was playing with that like all day long with that crappy gauge that I was using, just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So now that I got this better one, we're going to set that engine back in there, and we're just going to redo it. and just kind of we're going to get that engine in there nice and square. I'm not building a rocket here. I'm not trying to get it to within 100 thousandths of an inch or any of that crap. But I would like to make it a little bit better, because you could visibly see that the engine was ever slightly so over. So we're going to fix that, and I'm going to show you guys, or I'm going to take you guys along the way. That way you guys can see, how the engine was mounted in there and just how easy it is. So if you're kind of on the fence about doing this project for yourself, I'm going to show you guys just exactly how easy it is. It's really not that bad. Oh, and something else that I wanted to do why I had the engine out is I hate it that I got to use these stupid blocks to hold this transmission up. This transmission, like, the only downfall of this transmission, guys, is that it's freaking heavy. Like, I pulled this torque converter out, and I want to say that thing's got to be about 100 pounds. It is so damn heavy. So what I would like to do, the reason why I say this is because I plan on, pulling this engine probably a bunch of times over the course of its life, because we're going to do some things to it. We're going to do some cam swaps. I'd like to do, turbo by next summer. I'd like to do something like that. So, I do plan on like pulling this engine out, in and out, like probably several times over the course of its life. So I want to make it in a way that I can just like pull that engine out and I can just like push, this, truck out of the game garage, so I can do some other things on some other cars and other projects and stuff that I got going on. So a real cool thing that I could do is down there's like this brace that goes between the frame, and it mounts like right here over to here. So what I would like to do is make a different brace, something I can bolt in temporary, take that one out, put this one in, and then mount it to these pads here, and it keeps the transmission in place while the engine is out of the truck. Kind of like a nice little jig that I can use. That way, I can just get rid of those concrete blocks and the jack and all that stuff. And it'd be great to have, when I go to pull the engine out, just kind of bolt that in place real quick, pull the engine out. I don't have to worry about anything with the transmission at all. It'll be right in place where it needs to go whenever I need to put the engine back in. So that is another thing that I kind of want to accomplish before I end up rebuilding this engine, is to get that little jig made up for me, because that'll make things so much easier. All right, guys. So that's going to wrap it up for this one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put this engine back in the engine bay. I'll bring you guys back for another video on that, on how I'm doing the measurements and stuff like that. If you got any questions, any comments, just leave them down below. I'm usually pretty good about answering all my comments. So other than that, until next time, guys, we'll see you.